Welcome to the Alpine Church of Spiritual Living this morning. I'm going to be reading the thought for the week, and then as you're in the room, you can join me down at the bottom. Going back to the basics of science of mind, or New Thought, teachings this month, brings us to the realization that everything comes forth from the spiritual realm, from the unseen into the seen, from mind to manifestation. Therefore, it behooves us to be aware of our thoughts, of the intention we are setting, and the quality of our beliefs. Jesus the Christ told us, "It is done unto you as you believe." Whether we are aware of it or not, every thought truly is a prayer, for we are communicating with the infinite within our own being and that which surrounds us. The more we sink our whole consciousness into at one with the divine, the more our lives reflect its qualities through our experiences. Where's your faith? What do you believe? Do you have faith in fear and limitation, or faith in an infinite God of love whose will for us is only good? The choice is yours to make, time and time again. Do you believe you are an offspring and made in the image and likeness of this infinite God of love? I hope so, for that is the truth. But unless you accept that truth for yourself, you will live from limitation and lack. Why not look at every experience and relationship with an eye of discovering its value to you? Realize that life is ever-changing, letting go of the old and the past, and moving forward with greatness as its potential. Life truly is a school, and it doesn't have to be one of hard knocks. Open your awareness to being a happy and giving person, one who is open at the top to living life to the fullest. Say with me, I am willing to learn, grow, change, and become more than what my past dictates. I am a newly evolving creation of the divine each and every day. What a joy it is to be me. Well, our topic this morning is pray without ceasing. And what I mean by that is exactly what I wrote in the thought for the week. Whether we realize it or not, whether we're aware of it or not, our every thought is a prayer, for we are communicating, knowingly or unknowingly, with this universal spirit, this source of all that is in all that we commonly call God. That presence is never off duty. That presence is listening to us whether we're saying it out verbally or not, but within our hearts, within our thoughts, within our beliefs, it is acting upon our thoughts, our intentions. When we I say our desires as well, which I have to qualify because we've been talking about desires a little bit this month, to the point that when I talk about the desire of your heart is different from the desire of our head. The desires of our ego and psyche are much different than the desire, which is day is of and sire is God. The desire of God is in our hearts. But sometimes we get stuck in the desires of our heads. How many of you are doing the welcoming prayer? And during that welcoming prayer, there's a whole segment of letting go of the need for my desire, for power, for control, for affection, for security, for survival, and all those things. Those things are coming from our head, from our ego. And those are the desires that we want to let go of, but not the ones that come from our hearts. Remember, I talked about the first Sunday in this month. I showed you our teaching symbol, the circle with the 3 segments on it, and the top segment being the creative energy, the source, the spirit realm. That middle energy is the law, is what the spirit goes through in order to come down to the 3rd level, which is the manifestation, the physical level, the evidence. And so those 3 levels come together as one to form our experience of life. Ernest Holmes, one of his famous quotes that he wrote as he was writing the Science of Mind textbook. Love points the way, and law makes the way possible. Love is that top fort, that top element, the spirit. And it points the way. That's the desires I'm talking about. That's what bubbles up from us, from that wealth of the beautiful unseen essence and energy of love. And then law makes the way possible. Law, and we equate in Science of Mind, law is Lord. It's one and the same. And so I was reading my guideposts again. I read, many things each and every morning. One of them is a guidepost reading, and I was surprised to see that Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." That's exactly what we're talking about here. In their hearts, that is our creative energy, but the Lord, or law, points the way, makes the way happen. And so I wanted to share with you that reading because I think that it'll bring it more to home as to the example of what it's talking about. So it starts with that quote from Proverbs. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. And this is written from a man named John Dilworth. We were leaving on a 2-week trip the next day. I had more to-dos to complete than I could figure out how to get done. A hiking experience popped into my mind. My wife Pat and I had been hiking in the Azores Islands, and we'd reached the mountaintop. As we snacked and enjoyed the magnificent ocean view, we realized there was no clear pathway down. The way we'd gotten there seemed too steep to safely descend. As we scanned the landscape, Pat spotted a partially hidden creek bed. When we were ready to head back, we made our way to the creek bed, which led us to a clearing, where we found a narrow path to a mountainside pasture, and from there we found a path that took us the rest of the way down. The experience taught me about the power of the next step. I still remember the sinking feeling we got when we didn't think we had a safe way down the Azorian mountainside, and how once we spotted a possible solution and took the first step, the way back unfolded in good order. As I started working the list that was overwhelming me by asking God to order my steps His way, new insights began filling my mind, silent whispers that nudged, this next, not that. New tasks were added, others dropped off. A meeting was canceled. Step by step, the day unfolded, and by day's end, everything that had to be done was completed. Some of my favorite days have sprung from ones that start with dread and end in gratitude for all God does through me once I yield to the power of His next step. Thank you, God, for showing us your way when there seems to be no way. Help us to trust you step by step through every day. Amen. How important it is for us to remember that there is this divine energy, this divine essence within each and every one of us, eager to help us, to show us, to lead us to the next step that is for our highest and best good. But we need to remember it. We need to let go of thinking, I've got to do it this way. It needs to be done this way. And be available and open and receptive to what Spirit wants us to do. And it'll be things that perhaps we had no idea that were going to be on our to-do list that come up. And that's what I'm talking about today. It takes praying without ceasing, meaning that we are not begging, we're not pleading, but we are asking for and knowing, expecting, accepting that this divine guidance will be bringing us what we need. Out of an unrestricted love for God arises the willingness to surrender all motives except to serve God completely. The servant of God becomes one's goal rather than enlightenment. Quote from Dr. David R. Hawkins. We talk about our prayer method, and we talk about the fact that we have 5 steps. And the first step is recognition that there is only God. There is only one power. And that power is whole. That power is complete. That power is in and through everything. That power is in the heart of each and every one of us. That's what we are. For it's only the illusion of individuality that is the origin of all suffering. When one realizes that one is the universe, complete and at one with all that is, forever, without end, then no further suffering is possible. Another quote from David R. Hawkins. When we can unite, that's our second step in our treatment, when we can unite our essence, our being, our individuality, with knowing that we are one with all, that we are whole, that we are complete, that is what we are. That is our essential energy. And so no further suffering can happen because we know that we are seated in the beautiful bliss of the universe that will change, that will not be today what it was yesterday. I attended the first service this morning that this Alpine Church of Spiritual Living presented with their new minister earlier today. And in his message was about the fact, the way that churches are changing. You see empty buildings now, and society has changed in that regard many times of gatherings. But what his message purely was is that we need to go back, whoever is attending whatever church it is, to go back to the realization and the recognition that we are established in love, that Jesus Christ brought this love message to the world, and that's what we need to remember doesn't change. That's what the church, that's what our lives need to be based in and anchored in, is this knowing that we all are love. No matter what we look like, no matter where we live, no matter what we're doing, we are all this love in expression. As I was meditating the other day, I had this sense of awareness that I thought, in this moment of time, I am. In this moment of time, I am. And of course, the I am is the great I am. And in this moment of time, I am. And if I can just bring that awareness, that one little mantra with me throughout the day, that in this moment of time, I am. The more we can sink our whole consciousness into the at one with the divine, the more our lives reflect its qualities through our experiences. When we are so steeped in love, when we are so steeped in this moment, letting go of whatever happened yesterday, letting go of the disappointments, of the things that we wish would have been different, but they weren't. We can't change the past. It happened. One of the stories that I love to think back on in the Bible is the story of Joseph and how his brothers sold him into slavery. And toward the end then, they all recognized what they had done, and they were trying to ask for his forgiveness. And he said, man meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. So whatever the situation that comes to us is something that we may not have asked for consciously, but it's something that we can grow from. We can utilize it to enhance our lives if we look for the good in it. You know, I always love the story of the little boy who saw the big pile of horse doo-doo, manure, and starts digging through it, and people asking him, "What are you doing?" He says, "With all this manure here, there's got to be a pony here somewhere." And for us to know that there is this goodness somewhere, it might be buried, for us to be able to utilize, for us to be able to handle in some way. I have been very cognizant lately, and I think a lot of it has to do, Peter, with our mindfulness course that we just finished. Was it 26 weeks, I think it was? 24 weeks?
Next week's the last one.
Oh, next week's last, okay. Of mindfulness, of recognizing what we're doing, when we're doing it, where I'm at, physically, mentally, emotionally, at this moment in time. This is where I am. At this moment in time, I am. Several years ago, we had a piece of property in Arizona, and we would go there, and I would go meditate on the land. It was a 40-acre parcel, and there was one area that you could hike to that was big boulders, big flat boulders that overlooked the river that had carved a channel through the land. And so you could sit there on this big flat boulder and just look down and across at this beautiful landscape and see the birds, and it was so quiet. And I would sit there and meditate. And one day, this song came to me, and I wanted to share it with you because it's a good reminder of wherever I'm at, this love, this peace is me, is with me. And it's called This Moment. In the peace of this precious moment, I'm surrounded by the love of God. In the stillness of this moment, I am bathed in the light of love. In the peace of this precious moment, I'm surrounded by the love of God. In the stillness of this moment, I am bathed in the light of love. I'm a singer, and I love to sing, and that's what comes to me. But each of us have our own ways that give us the key, the clue, the tip to bring ourselves back into this moment of time and to realize that love is leading us, is within us, is being our strength. And so we can succumb to it. We can allow and we can let this egoic voice be silenced to where we can allow the love, the joy, the peace, the serenity of what we are to come forth at every moment of every day. And when we do that, we are praying unceasingly. Remember to do that. Namaste.